So this next story was brought to my attention by a good friend of mine, Serena, and I'm sure she wouldn't mind me giving her a shout out. I really appreciate bringing this one to my attention because it made my blood boil when I seen it. And it's such a disgrace that now we live in a country where this type of rhetoric is being pushed on official government pages. It was bad enough seeing RFK Jr. confirmed as the head of Health and Human Services. You could not have written a satirical comedy and found anyone more over the top absurd to be in that role than RFK Jr., a guy with zero experience. And we could go down all the list of rabbit holes of all the crazy conspiracy theories and crazy things that man's done. It's not like it would do a whole lot of good. But now this is the type of stuff we're seeing on their official pages. I'm going to bring this up. This is over here on Facebook. This is the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services official page. And first of all, they right here, of course, welcome Secretary RFK Jr. You go down right here, and he leaves a post here. A productive meeting with HHS political leadership. We are committed to restoring trust, radical transparency, and putting public health back in the hands of the people. Big changes ahead. And then, of course, hashtag Make America Healthy Again, because that's all they are, is a bunch of slogans. The guy's got no experience, and it's kind of ridiculous to me, really, to even say the words, put it back in the hands of the people. So I guess I'm supposed to take my medical advice from my barber now. Am I supposed to take my medical advice from the guy that changes a tire? It's ridiculous as to how they even think. But right here is what really came to my friend's attention, and she's right. This does need to be called out. Right here, check out this article. The Trump administration is bringing back common sense and restoring biological truth to the federal government. The prior administration's policy of trying to engineer gender ideology into every aspect of public life is over. And look here, protecting women and children, and this is on womenshealth.gov. They want to sit there with a straight face and spin this that they're the ones protecting women. I find that to be one of the most insulting things that I've ever seen, and the fact that it's on an official government page is truly disgusting. I don't believe for one second that Maga or the Republican Party, RFK Jr., Donald Trump, any of them, gives one damn about women and their rights, because I have talked so many times here on the channel about the report that came out where 64,000 women have been impregnated by rape since Roe versus Wade was overturned. And that happened in a lot of states where there's no exception for cases of rape. And in that case, they just say, oh, kick it back to the states and let the states decide. We're pro-life. You can't be pro-life if you're going to make a woman live through that type of trauma. And then if you want to make the arguments of, well, we're going to kick it back to the states, okay. Well, how about let the schools decide who plays what sports, and quit putting that kind of garbage right there on official pages? Because all that does is just adds fuel to the fire. People don't realize that by sitting and having these conversations and continuing to demonize trans people, all it does is causes more trans people to get bullied. All it does is causes more trans people to commit suicide. I hate even saying that out loud. All I can say is that there are people out there that care about you, love you, and are there to help you. If you're having any sort of issues, please reach out and talk to somebody. Please reach out and call someone and talk to someone, and understand there are people on your side. It's truly sickening to see stuff like this on a government page. It's truly sickening to see them continuing to sit and push and spread their own ideology, and that's what this is. It's the radical right and their ideology. So again, I make this statement a lot, but I say it because it bears repeating. I don't sit here and complain or go on and on rants about the radical left. Why? Because the radical left has no position of power. They don't have the presidency. They don't have the Supreme Court. They don't have the Senate. They don't have the House. And they don't have government pages. And the radical right does. The radical right is clearly the ones that are radical. They clearly are the ones that are the biggest threat to democracy. They clearly are the ones that don't give a damn about women or protecting women. And the fact that they would go over here and act like that they're protecting women in sports, but yet they would let one bleed out in a hospital room, well, just got to let the states decide that one. And then when they say that, the whole argument about let's let the states decide. J.D. Vance is like, well, if you don't like the laws where you live, move to a blue state where it's allowed. And then at the same time, they'll say, well, but your state can call you back and hold you accountable for what you did once you left the state. So it's clearly overreach. It's clearly all about controlling the women. It's clearly all about controlling the narrative. And while they push this kind of stuff out there, and there will be people who will see that and they'll celebrate it. They'll say, oh, I'm so glad to see this kind of stuff on official pages. They don't realize the damage that it's doing. And they also don't realize that they aren't getting any of the things that they voted for. They aren't getting the cheaper eggs. They're not getting the lower grocery bill. They're not getting anything they thought they were getting. Instead, they're the ones getting played. They're the ones getting owned. They can sit back all day long and say, we own the libs. No, they got owned by Donald Trump, by RFK Jr., and all the other grifters. And I can already hear somebody, I get this comment at least on every video where I talk about anyone like Elon or Trump or RFK Jr. It's always like, they used to be Democrats, man. They used to be Democrats. No, they were always grifters. And they realized that the act they were trying would never get over in the Democratic Party, would never get over with reasonable people who are free thinkers and thinks for themselves. That type of hateful bigotry and hateful rhetoric and hateful homophobia will only get over under one umbrella, and that's the Republican Party. And they're the ones that let this happen. They're the ones that allowed their party to be hijacked by Maga and let Donald Trump take full control of it. Mitch McConnell can sit back now and vote against anything he wants to vote against and act like that he's not the hero in the story. He could have prevented all this when he had the chance, and he didn't. He sold himself out time and time again. And the Republican Party sold themselves out time and time again. And I've played clips of Marco Rubio. I've played clips of countless people saying, Lindsey Graham, all sorts of people saying, if we let this man in charge of the Republican Party, he's going to run it in the ground and destroy it, and we'll deserve it. Well, they're getting what they deserve. But there's a whole lot of people out there that don't deserve the treatment they're getting, and they're getting it because of bullshit like that. For that to be on an official page is absolute bullshit, and we'll continue to call it out as such. So again, to anyone in the transgender and the gay community, reach out to people. Get the help you need if you're in a very stressful situation. I understand that you are right now, but just know you've got a lot of good people pulling for you, and know that we're here and we're in your corner. People throws the word ally around a lot. I stand up for what I feel is right. And I believe that every human being in this world deserves a fair shot in this world without having bigotry and hatred thrown at them by their own government. So I will always be sitting in this chair speaking up and speaking out. And I think more people needs to do so. I think especially people with large platforms who are in a position to speak out. Now's the time. If you've ever questioned it, if you've ever said, well, I don't know if I really want to, I'm afraid I might lose a customer. Like I've said in previous videos, I was a musician for over 25 years. I don't want that type of person in my audience. I don't want the type of person like RFK Jr. in my audience and buys into that bullshit and buys into that hatred and talks and treats transgender people that way. I don't want those people anywhere around me. They can take my albums and shove them up their ass as far as I'm concerned. I don't give two shits one way or the other. I'm not here to make friends with them. I'm here to stand up for what's right and what's decent, and I think a whole lot more people needs to do the same.